because it takes a second for people to start joining. But we should be live now on.
You want me to tweet now, or like do I have something I need to do?
No, tweet it out. So right now, yeah, it says we're live here, which is exciting. Hello, chat. Good day, chat. Good day. I can see us live on X. So I'm going to grab your free trial link and hype that up. And then I'll post on my Twitter. I've got a lot of followers. I've got almost 700 followers. So that should really flood the zone
Popular
with
man.
listeners. I know. How about it? And then we go from there.
Should I just retweet or should I just like copy?
Yeah, give me 1 second. I'm gonna make it look cooler.
Cool.
And then retweet from there.
Gotcha.
I'll like quote tweet it.
Okay.
And go from there. This really makes me appreciate Alex. Alex, if you're listening, I miss you, buddy. Okay. I'm going to tag you in this one.
Cool.
I love this, by the way. This is like my favorite hour of the week. Hopefully that was what I thought it was. Hello, chat. Hello. Hello. I got a little echo there, so I'm going to shut up. Okay, amazing. All right, I just fired off the quote tweet, so if you see a big onrush of subscribers, you know why.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say subscribers, I should say listeners.
Gotcha.
And I'll also put it in our company Slack.
I'm actually going to quote tweet that, and then I'm going to put the link in my tweet.
Legendary. And then let me know when you get all configured.
I'm ready whenever.
I'm actually going to put your link in the underneath as a comment. We'll go from there.
Cool.
We're halfway through the week. Feels like it's already should be Thursday or Friday. Somehow it's only Wednesday. I don't know how to interpret that. How's your week going, Anders?
Great. Haven't really done much. Basically spent early weeks just looking through the weekend slates and stuff.
Value, ever heard of it?
Right. Jeez.
Are you getting into the NBA yet, or are you still football?
I pick my spots very limited in NBA. Like I'll have, I don't know. I wanted to bet a little more this year. It's just like whenever I send out an NBA play, I just feel like I'm like flipping a coin. Like I just hate the NBA regular season. I don't know.
Is it because you don't watch the games? You don't have a system on the statistics side of things?
I have like some specific systems I use through like through some stuff I look at, but like I just don't feel confident enough to send out NBA plays at times. So like when I do, I have done well, but like pick my spots very limited. I think I had like 20 NBA plays last year in the regular season, maybe.
The velocity's not super high. What are you doing on a typical college football Saturday or NFL Sunday?
Like plays wise, or like what am I actually doing?
Like plays wise, like
how
volume.
Many do I have? Gotcha. Yeah. So, college football volume typically like pretty large cards, like 10 plus plays normally. I mean, all the games are on the same day. That's always my philosophy. I hate when people tell me I have too many plays.
Yeah, you're like I get 10 plays a week. What are you talking about? 10 plays a day?
Like 10 plays maybe Saturdays, and then like NFL, I'll have like it depends if I do props or not. But like I could have like 6 NFL plays, or I could have 10 plus if I have props or something like that. But um, yeah, pretty high
Whatever
volume
you're
on those
doing
games.
working,
Yeah,
you're cooking with gas right now. That's for
yeah.
sure.
I need to heat up. I'm actually not even having a great month, but
Well, it's
we'll get it
almost
going.
over, brother. Let's
Yeah,
turn the tide
right,
right now.
right.
All right, we got some decent traction in the chat. Do you want to just
Cool.
get after it?
I'm ready when you are.
We are joined today by the one and only pride of the Buckeye State,
Yes, sir.
Anders Picks. How long you been with Duck Club now? 2 years?
What? It's been a year and a half, roughly.
Year and a half?
Yeah.
Let's round up to 2. Puff out the chest a little bit.
Fair enough.
Built an absolute wagon of a business in that period of time, and we know you're a Buckeye guy, so I wanted to make sure with the game of the week, potentially the game of the year in the Big Ten, this Saturday in Happy Valley, the Buckeyes and the Nittany Lions, that we got our resident Buckeye expert in the crib for this one. Anders, say hello to the listeners at home.
Hello, listeners at home.
This is your live streaming debut on this platform. I know you're a TikTok legend. You've got a nice page on X, but I'm absolutely honored that you chose to break the seal from an X live stream perspective with yours truly. I'm humbly honored.
Of course.
Well, let's get right into it. I'm starting in the game of the week. This is the big noon game. This is probably the most anticipated game of the Big Ten season. Maybe Oregon, Ohio State was a little bit more juice ahead of the game. But, I mean, this game has all the intrigue you could want, all the storylines you could want. Ohio State coming off, the Ohio State University.
Thank you.
Coming off a non-inspiring victory over the Cornhuskers at home, heading into Happy Valley for a big noon game of the year against a Penn State team that has got a little mojo right now. Beat SC on the road, just beat Madison on the road. Backup quarterback looked very good against Wisco. Feels like the team has some juju. Line opened around plus 3.5. Penn State, I believe the total is sitting at 45.5 right now. Anders, I know you're a big Buckeye fan. Are you playing anything as a capper in this one and a better, or are you staying away?
So, personally, I have not played anything officially. I'll talk about what I like in a second, but I'll talk about the kind of like the narrative of this game. Like you have Will Howard, obviously, new quarterback coming to Ohio State, but he grew up a Penn State fan, like big Penn State fan. So now he's traveling to face the team, the college team in Penn State that he grew up loving as a starting quarterback in attempts to not ruin their season, but maybe deflate their season a little bit. But I personally don't have anything, but I do kind of, there's some interesting spots to look at here. Like both, for what it's worth, you probably have seen it on Twitter all week. For what it's worth, both James Franklin and Ryan Day, like historically, like terrible versus like these high ranked teams. James Franklin specifically a little more. I mean, he's 72-41 against the spread versus non-ranked opponents. Then you put him up against a top 15 team on Penn when he's been with Penn State. He's just 3-20 straight up versus top 15 teams, 1-12 versus top 5 teams for what it's worth. And 2 of those wins versus top 15 teams versus Wisconsin. One was a Wisconsin team in like week 1 of the season, and they didn't even end up being that good. So like, how much could you put in the traction there? And then the other one was what 2016, I think. Ohio State, they had that huge block kick return. So the question of this game is, can James Franklin get the job done in a game where, I don't know, I don't want to say it's like the best Penn State team he's had, but it's definitely like up there at least as of recent. But yeah, 5-11 against the spread versus top 5 teams in his career. Ryan Day not great against the spread either. Versus these high ranked teams, but he is 11-5 straight up versus top 15 teams. Obviously, he's probably had better teams than James Franklin, but it's just an interesting angle to look at it from the coaching perspective, and I think that's cool.
I want to go back to the Will Howard narrative street that you
Hmm.
brought up, because I heard a clip from maybe Monday press conference where you could tell like Will had a little extra. What's the term? Spud in his step, something in his step. How
Why
much
can't I think
weight
of
do
it either?
you assign mentally as a capper to like those sorts of like revenge narratives, or like this guy disrespected me, I wanted to play for Penn State, Jimmy Franklin didn't give me the time of day, now I'm on the the takeover tour? Is that play at all a role in the way you're like breaking down the game, or you're just like total numerically focused?
I love like mental narratives and mental like sides of things. Like to put it's good it's a cool thing to add into write-ups in terms of would I like adjust like a power rating or a number, like even a half point because of that? No. But it is just something cool to think about, and like I feel like the main thing with college football, like not that these teams will definitely will get up for these games and will be ready, but like it's such like a mental sport. I feel like to the
Yeah,
point
they're
where
kids. They're just kids,
exactly.
Anders.
Well, they
So you
are,
think,
but
yeah, you think Will's going to get the guys up
right,
for this game as a
right.
result, and it's not going to be like the kind of sleepy
Yeah.
performance that they had against
Unless
the
he's still
Huskers, for
unless he's
example.
still a Penn State fan and he's just like
Yeah, maybe he's throwing the game. He's like, yeah, this
right,
is their shot.
right, right.
All right, all very interesting stuff. I am touching this game. People may know this about me. I'm a little bit of a Buckeyes fan. With that being said, I love Penn State getting the points at home. 3.5 points. That's a crucial number. Penn State's a very good football team. They're good offensively, very balanced team. They can beat you in a lot of ways. They have the best tight end in the country, perhaps the best tight end who's ever played football. He plays like he played against USC a
Okay.
couple weeks ago. I mean, the guy does everything. He's going to line up in 8 different spots and make you look like a fool in all of them. The backup quarterback looked great. So if Aller can't go, I'm not overly concerned. In many ways, he actually looked better. And defensively, they're strong. I think the thing that would keep me up the most if I was on Ohio State's staff, again with the Buckeyes under Ryan Day, the offensive line seems to be the biggest question mark. Left tackle spot,
Yep.
they could be running out a third stringer on Saturday.
I mean, even if it's their backup, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
No,
their
please, cook,
the,
brother.
their backup, because their main guy went down versus Oregon, but their backup came in, got hurt, but like he played what 6 quarters, I think, like 5 quarters, something like that. But he got hurt, but he was playing like he's like the graded like the worst tackle in the country or like one of them. So like
Mm.
even if he ends up playing, like that's a huge mismatch. Like if you have like Abdul Carter rushing on the edge, like that's a brutal matchup. This is I have tons of notes on this game, so like I can go on about it forever. Um, but my thing is like it's what how is Penn State gonna be able to run the ball, and once again like who's starting at quarterback, Drew Aller or Pribula, is that how you pronounce it? But
Bo. I'm just going with Bo.
I think what's cool about that is I think you'll start to see that like kind of the new style of college football, like we saw it in like the Texas A&M game, Texas A&M LSU. For Connor Weigman looked terrible in the first half. They bring out their backup Marcel Reed, and it turns out LSU's not ready at all. So like Perdue,
Mm.
way more mobile guy, having to prepare for 2 quarterbacks, and I think a 2 quarterback system in college football will almost become like the new meta, so to say.
Wow,
Um,
that's a spicy take. Breaking on lose big winners. I think that's a great
it,
take. It's almost like the way that baseball has shifted to, you're not having a starter going out there and
yep,
throwing
bullpen games.
120 pitches and 8 innings. You're trying to make the opposing offense game plan for 2 different offensive teams at the end of the day. So I think that's a
Hmm.
really interesting point. And when you've got these like constant free agency model with NIL and the transfer portal, you can really build a collection of quarterbacks that are
Hmm.
complementary. So I love that take. You saw this in
Right.
Ann Arbor as well, where they had
Mm.
Orgy and the other guy who was kind of like little.
Not sure if it worked as well, but
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I'm not gonna like
but
gas up Michigan's offense,
yeah.
but
I
the other. Oh, go ahead, Anders.
sorry. I was just gonna say I'd be shocked if Drew Aller didn't play in this game. Like,
Mm.
would be shocked. Not that I like know how injured he is or how not, but like he's gonna go. Like it's a biggest game of his season, and he's gonna go. Now the two quarterback thing, like, will he play every snap? Probably not. He'll probably play half the game. Bring in Pabula. Like it's like when you have to prepare for two different quarterbacks, two different styles of offenses, especially when like you have like Ohio State's linebacking core like really struggling this year. Like that is their key weakness on defense. Um, like that could be tough having to worry about Pabula's legs, and then Aller's a little bit obviously a better thrower, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's just an interesting angle to have to prepare for.
There's a
Um,
million storylines in this one. At the end of the day, the reason I like Penn State getting the points, I love home dogs when it's a relatively evenly matched game. I think this is a relatively evenly matched game, especially with the issues on the Ohio State offensive line. The other reason why I like the points, Penn State's offense, no matter who's at quarterback, they can score quickly. So even if they're down 10 in the last, 5 minutes, this feels like a spot where they could, make you look smart with a backdoor cover or something of that nature. So give me the home dog. Give me the points.
I might have to counter.
As an Ohio State fan, I hope they win, but as a betting man, I think the smart play here is on the Nittany Lions. But please, get the last word in, my friend.
I haven't really talked about like the matchup specifically, other than stopping the run, like because OSU's just really like struggling as of the last 2 weeks. But my key takeaway is like this is what have we really seen from this Penn State team? Like I let me pull up their games real quick. I'm sorry for taking so long on this game. I just figured
Get
this
that
would be like
schedule out on the ESPN.com. How about it?
no right, but like they closed this. I mean, it was early in the season, but like we remember, like they closed a 7 point favorite, just a 7 point favorite at West Virginia, who we now know is like terrible. But they struggled. Like BG threw the ball all over them.
Yeah.
Illinois, like they should in a real world. Like I know Illinois was a ranked team. Like they are not a good football team. Like Penn State should have rolled them. They did look good. Like they've put up like over 500 yards of offense at USC. Like that's impressive. But USC, I mean, they're up to 4 losses now. Beat a Wisconsin team, huge pick six swung that game, and then Wisconsin obviously just like wasn't really ready for the backup quarterback, so that was an interesting angle. But best data point is the win at USC, but ultimately USC
That
doesn't
was
really
a
have much
very
data points
competitive
to.
game. I mean, they were
Right,
making fourth and
right,
10, fourth
and
and
they
12s to tie that one up at the end of regulation.
right, and they came back. Obviously, the box score definitely favors Penn State. Like they outgained it by over 100 yards. I think they turned the ball over like a couple times. So like and to turn the ball over a couple times on the road, lose a turnover margin and still win the game, very impressive. But I think like OSU's secondary got lit up in explosives versus Oregon, and and realistically OSU probably should have, but probably definitely could have won that game. But the difference between Oregon and Penn State is I just don't think Penn State has the weapons on the outside, and I don't think that, and that's a huge advantage for Ohio State because they're able to put like their defensive backs one-on-one coverage, focus more on the run. Um, I mean, obviously Tyler Warren like huge deal to guard, but like they definitely don't have the receiving weapons that Oregon did. Like Denzel Burke was just literally lost in that Oregon game, but like he won't
Sure.
be as bad in this game. Um, and overall, I just think the perception of Ohio State, like everyone's saying, like they haven't looked good, and I'm not even like yes, I'm an Ohio State fan. I grew up more of a Notre Dame fan, as you can see in the gold and blue background, but
We won't hold that against you.
yeah, but like I I don't even like root for them like crazy. Like I'm not the biggest Ohio State fan of the Ohio State fans, but ultimately I just think I'm not buying this Penn State team. That's my main angle in this game. I'd lean Ohio State. I'd wait. I think Penn State is gonna they're the sharper side. I know some smart people on Penn State already. That line will probably come down. You can get a 3 probably later. Um, but like this ultimately this is the same line as it was at Oregon, and
Mm.
I just can't really get there because Oregon's, in my opinion, significantly like definitely a couple points better than Penn State, and like Penn State, they're not the third best team in the country. Like they just aren't. So um I don't know. I think perception this Ohio State team is low strictly because of the Nebraska game, but it was in a bad spot. Ohio State coming off a heartbreaking loss versus Oregon, Nebraska coming off a blowout loss versus Illinois. Nebraska has nothing to lose. Matt Rule is a dog, normally gets his team up. Like they played well, caught OSU sleeping a little bit. OSU look ahead spot for this Penn State team. Like I'm not really taking into account that game too much. I am worried about OSU's ability to run the ball. Like Judkins is like can't get going apparently, but I don't know. I like the under. That's my favorite
He
play in
was
this
too
game.
good in NCAA 25. He was
Yeah.
like a cheat code in
His
25. He's
his
like
spin
expecting
his
to just
spin move
walk
was
over
too
people.
cracked. He thought he'd just get that in real life without practicing. But
Yeah, shame. It's going to
but
be an
yeah.
interesting. We're gonna get a lot of answers early Saturday in the noon game. The only reason I'm really tempted to bet Ohio State is because the Penn State fans are insufferable with like, why isn't this a night game? Why isn't this a whiteout?
That's another angle. That's probably worth a point.
It's
to the
really
spread, to be honest.
annoying. It's really annoying from my perspective. And I'm a fan of early football as someone who's getting older and likes to go to bed early. So it should be a very interesting game, and hopefully it's close in the fourth quarter because these two have played a lot of classic
Hopefully
matchups.
not, but,
Yeah, we'll see. All right, let's move on to a team that just took a ricochet shot from yourself. Very interesting matchup again. Minnesota coming off a drubbing of the Terps at home. Illinois just got their you-know-what handed to them in the Pacific Northwest at the hands of the Oregon Ducks. And as a result, they are getting points at home. 3-point dogs. The Golden Gophers come into town. These are two teams that are in similar spots, both 3-2 in the Big Ten. Minnesota's one game back in the total standings. Anything you like in this one, Anders? Line's holding pretty steady at Minnesota as a 3-point favorite. Total is right there at 45.5 as well.
Favorite play for Saturday.
Really?
As of now, take the Minnesota Gophers.
Oh, we're gonna be mortal enemies today, I'm afraid.
Minus 2.5, -3. I sent out like a -140 ML. Like it was expensive. I think it's worth it in this spot. I think there's like a -135 out there right now. Do you remember like 3 years ago? I like to compare it to this when like Iowa was the number 2 ranked team, and then
Sure.
they lose at home versus Purdue, and everyone's like, oh my god, huge upset. But like they just suck. Like Iowa was not good at football. Like I think they
Fraudulent.
beat Penn State that year, but like Penn State like wasn't that good either. And that's
I'm
why
glad Alex isn't on the stream because he'd start crying when you talk about Iowa like that.
But okay, they were the 2 seed, and yes, Illinois wasn't the 2 seed. And I don't think they're even like ranked anymore. But like, I think them being ranked is more absurd. Like I wanna like look once again, pull up the schedule. This 6-2 football team, in a blink of an eye, could be 2-6. Like so easily. Huge swing games like Nebraska OT. They had that huge like end zone interception. I had Illinois in that game, but like getting like 9. But like they had a huge interception in the end zone where like it landed in Nebraska's hands and Illinois like ripped it away. It was a crazy pick. That swung the entire game. Illinois wins in OT. The Kansas game, Kansas wins that game probably 90 out of 100 times. That was very early in the season, but like Illinois had like there was like some special teams blunders on punts and stuff. Like they should have got rolled by Penn State. Should have lost that game more. Should have lost to Purdue. Very easily could have lost to Michigan. Very misleading final there. Them winning by 2 touchdowns. And then I was all over Oregon last week. Oregon killed them. I still think this Illinois team's overvalued. People are going to come in my TikTok lives, DM me all week and say, Anders, why is Illinois a 3-point dog at home? And it's just because these two teams are just trending in completely opposite directions. Minnesota's playing their best football of the season so far. Darius Taylor should be able to run all over this Illinois front. And Luke Altmaier, I was impressed with his game versus Nebraska, but other than that, he's been one of the luckiest quarterbacks in football. He has 11 turnover-worthy plays to just 3 interceptions, and I don't think he will look remotely near as good versus Minnesota defense. And Minnesota has probably the best quarterback play they've had in a long time. So I like him to get it done. I wouldn't say I think they roll just because these Minnesota games are low scoring, and hence why I laid the money line instead of like an expensive -2.5 or -3. But I think Minnesota gets it done with ease.
We're going to battle this weekend,
Head to head.
Anders. I agree with a lot of what you said, particularly on the Minnesota side of things. This is a team that's gotten better week over week over week. I think where I disagree is I think we're assigning too much. This is the thing with college football. It is a week-to-week sport, unfortunately. They're kids, and it's very challenging, especially for teams that have not been elite for a long period of time, to stack strong performance after strong performance after strong performance. I've been in college football locker rooms on great teams, on not so, or on good teams as well, and I know that it's hard for a team like Minnesota that is growing and improving every week to maintain momentum as the season wears on. I know it's hard to win football games on the road. The only road football game they've won is against UCLA, and that was a barely survive against a very bad UCLA team. I think this number is assigning too much weight to Illinois in a letdown spot, and Minnesota that had a very favorable matchup against a very finessey team in Maryland. Minnesota matches up super well with the more finessey teams. They beat them up. Their last 3 wins against SC, UCLA, Maryland. This is like the Coastal Elite ACC Pac-12 brand of football. They have not fared as well against the bruising Big Ten brand of football. Got their ass kicked by Iowa at home. Couldn't beat a bad Michigan team on the road. And I think Illinois aligns more with that like bruising Big Ten West style of football. So I think it's a tough matchup for them. I like a bounce back spot for Bielema, and I love getting points at home against teams that are relatively evenly matched talent-wise. I think Illinois and Minnesota are very comparable talent-wise. So, home field's worth 3 points. So if you're telling me Minnesota's a 6-point favorite on a neutral site, I think that's bullshit. I'll take the points at home. Go Illini.
I think you're just factoring in too much of Minnesota laying an egg and not enough of Illinois just not being good at football. I think that's the main angle here. You mentioned Minnesota on the road. They've only played 2 road games this year.
Sure.
So that could be an advantage of Illini, but I don't know. I really can't. And for what it's worth, like Minnesota, they did take down UCLA on the road. They probably easily could have lost that game, but like you see these Big Ten teams are all struggling on the West Coast. Like the East Coast teams struggling on the West Coast, the West Coast teams struggling on the East Coast. Minnesota got the job done, unlike what a lot of these teams couldn't do.
I could be wrong. Wouldn't be the first time. I like this Illinois team. I like the quarterback. I think their front four is pretty darn good. They got good linebackers. They got a good tight end. They got a real good wide receiver, Pat Bryan. Their O-line's okay. So it'll be an interesting game, and we'll know a lot more Saturday at about 2 o'clock Central. Yeah. Let's finish out the Saturday morning slate, a matchup among some bottom feeders in the Big Ten. 2-hour drive. Gets you from Evanston to West Lafayette. This is a very weird number from my perspective. It's kind of freaking me out. Northwestern is a 1-point favorite on the road against Purdue. Total sitting at 46.5, which is a lot of points for 2 not very good offenses. Anything you like in this one, Anders?
Lean to Purdue. It just seems like the spot to buy them. I probably won't bet it, but like Purdue can't cover. Everyone loves betting against them. We saw them show a little bit of life versus Illinois. Ironically enough, versus Illinois, but
yeah, Illinois is getting a lot of press in this stream.
Like Purdue just looks like a corpse until they play the shitty ass Illinois team. But it just seems like the spot to buy them. But I just don't know if I can get to the number really. Like I don't know if I want to back it. But Purdue off a bye, facing a Northwestern team that might be just dead after last week. I don't really know. I don't really want anything to do with this game, but I think the side is Purdue. I think they'll flip to a favorite by kickoff.
I mean, what do you have any read on Northwestern? They go to Maryland and kick ass on a Friday night, and then they lay 2 eggs in back-to-back weeks. And I just can't get a read on them. I'm also staying away from this one because I really don't like Purdue. But the fact that they're only a 1-point dog kind of freaks me out. I have no read on Northwestern. Do you have a read on Northwestern, or just kind of stay away for the rest of the year?
Not really. I mean, they kind of played a good game versus Indiana, like sneaky good, even though they lost by 17. But
Sure.
I actually
Yeah,
bet
I was there. That
Northwestern-
was a very competitive game.
I actually bet Northwestern at Maryland in that game that they just blew them out. But like they needed like to win the turnover battle 4-0. But
Yeah.
So I think they got outgained in that game, if I'm not mistaken. But I don't know. I don't want to bet a Northwestern game. You're right. Probably should have beat Duke too. Like I don't want anything to do with this team.
If Purdue loses this one,
Mm-hmm.
is the seat getting warm in West Lafayette for Ryan Walters? I mean, they're probably not going to win another football game if they don't win with this one at Ohio State versus Penn State, at Sparty, at IU for the Old Oaken Bucket. So if they don't win today, they're staring at a 1-11 season.
Right. Maybe. Probably not. Their roster's just so bad, man. I don't know, but like
It's only, I mean, it's year 2 for this guy. He was
Right.
kind of a weird hire when it happened.
yeah. I don't know.
That's the
Maybe-
one reason why I kind of lean Purdue. I feel like he probably knows
Yeah,
if
big game.
if he doesn't win, it's like, oh shit,
Off
seats
a
getting.
bye, like you need this
toasty.
game as a coach, right?
This is his Super Bowl. I mean,
It
from my perspective.
The Northwestern
So-
versus Purdue Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's not a very highly watched Super Bowl. Ratings aren't going to do crazy numbers, but
Mm-hmm.
I would probably lean Purdue, but I'm staying away. It's freaking me out.
Cool.
All right, let's go to the Mitten State. Michigan, big W last week. I was all over the Spartans, and they made me look like a fool, even though it felt like Michigan State dominated the whole game.
I mean, they make a 25-yard field goal, they cover, right?
Yeah, what are we doing, Jonathan Kim? You've been the best
Unreal.
kicker in the freaking country all year.
Unreal.
It's a rivalry game, brother.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dirty Bubble Bets. You came on the program last week. You put the 5U thing on the dance floor, and it didn't work out. No fault of your own. Players didn't play the right way. You capped it the right way. Michigan's getting 14.5 at home. Defending national champion, getting 14.5 points at home. I know they're very down this year. Oregon coming off a very workmanlike ass-kicking at home. This is their first true, like, big-time road game as a member of the Big Ten. Anything you like in this one, Anders?
I do have a slight lean. I show some value in Michigan, but they are like the one of the teams. Like there's some teams like this, but like where power ratings mean absolutely nothing. Like I had the number like Michigan like set -7 versus Michigan State. I still bet Michigan State. Obviously they didn't cover, but game could have gone either way.
Yeah.
Over 2 touchdowns in Ann Arbor, extremely tempting, but probably the wrong side, even though everyone's going to be on Oregon. I think it's just a question. I think huge coaching advantage for Oregon, obviously. Again, these like West Coast teams traveling to these East Coast Big Ten teams, like that should favor Michigan, but I don't know. How much does Oregon want to win by? I think they can. No Will Johnson likely again for Michigan. Big deal. He was basically on his own island on the side every single game, and now you can actually attack both sides of the field rather than just one. I like Oregon first half -7.5.
Ooh, love that play.
I think they keep slowing down in these second half games. I took them first half last week. I think I bet him personally first half like the week before that. I don't remember, but that was Ohio State game, I think. But yeah, they've done well in these first halves. I think they might come out firing. It's 7.5. Like I don't know. It's just like if you bet Michigan full game, like if they go down 10, if they go down 14 in the first half, like you're screwed. They're not coming back. So it's so like square, so public, makes too much sense. I don't love the travel spot, like going across the country, laying double digits versus Michigan. But Michigan's a corpse. They can't throw the football. So that'd be my best bet in the game. I haven't bet it yet. I don't know if I will. We'll see.
We're united on this one, brother. I feel exactly the same. You don't feel great betting Michigan ever this year, and you really don't feel good fading Oregon ever. I mean, I looked like pie in face last week. Let's give another frickin' backhand shot at the Illini. But Oregon, they're a wagon, and when they're not covering, it's be the backdoor cover, and I don't like betting really double-digit spreads at all, because in college football, backdoor covers happen, and it makes you want to stop betting college football and maybe throw your TV out of the apartment. So this is a mental health avoid for me. I think it's going to be an interesting game. Like, Michigan's probably going to be juiced up after a rivalry W.
Right.
And their offense did look a lot better than it has last week. Maybe this little quarterback committee thing has got some legs. I don't know. I'm staying away.
Yeah. Probably ultimately a stay away from me, but I do think best bet in that game. Oregon first half just seems like a good bet this year. But it is tempting. Like, if the number got up to 17, it won't. But if it did, I'd look Michigan. But I don't know if I want to bet the game. We'll see.
Stay tuned.
Yeah.
Moving right along to the other state university in Michigan, at least the Big Ten State University in Michigan. Another 2:30. That's an interesting dynamic. I wonder how often they do that, where both teams play at home on the same time. Hoosiers! College game day 1 week. Headed to East Lansing the next week. I was in Bloomington last week for a very efficient, calculated, surgical dub over the Huskies. Offense didn't look great, but the run game was dominant and the defense was very stout. Line opened at 7.5. I'm seeing it at 8 right now as a favorite for Indiana. Michigan State coming off a very demoralizing loss, and a street fight after the game happened. Total's at 51.5, so they're expecting a lot of points. What's your read?
I keep betting Michigan State. I keep coming down to it. I haven't bet anything in this game again. Just like mainly leans in the Big Ten. Some spots I like, but I think this is the week Indiana doesn't cover. But like, because are they 8-0 against the spread? I think they're 8-0.
I don't know. I would not be surprised at all.
Sure,
they haven't trailed all year. That's a fun little stat at your cocktail party this weekend.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're 8-0 against the spread, and they had an early pick six last week. They threw 2 forward passes in the second half versus Washington, and I think one was a drop pick by Washington. and they still cover the whatever it was 7, 5.5. But I think this is the game they don't cover it. This would be a bigger bet for me at this number for Michigan State if Curtis Rourke wasn't playing. That's like a huge deal. He's gonna end up playing though. Line will probably go to.
Oh, you think Rourke is gonna play?
Oh yeah, yeah.
They're going into a bye. Does that change it at all for you? And then they got Murderers Row down the stretch.
They just need every game they got, because if they finish 11-1, they'll make the college football playoff with a loss to Ohio State.
For sure.
I think Rourke goes. If Rourke doesn't go in this line, I mean, I think that's why this line's trending up. But like, I'd be shocked if the line is 7 or better with no Rourke, because like, he's a clear huge upgrade for that passing attack. If it's 7.5 with no Rourke confirmed, it'd be very, very hard for me not to have a bigger bet on Michigan State here. But I think he'll play. Signetti said they're optimistic he'll go. But
how about Signetti, by the way?
Unreal.
Is that guy a gamer
Indiana
or what?
over 5.5 wins. My best bet I've made all season. Only
take it to the bank early.
Looking back at it, I'm like, God, I wish I just would have hammered that. But,
why not? I'm an honorary Hoosier fan for life now. I'm marrying into the Indiana fandom. Perfect timing. My beautiful fiance knows how to pick them.
Hell yeah.
So I'm a Hoosier fanatic. You can call me Loosier. Everything you're saying makes sense, Anders. What you're not taking into account
covers every game.
The system play, which is Indiana covers every football game.
Yeah.
Don't think about it. Just do it.
Here's the issue with that. With teams that cover every game, is you only notice the ones that cover every game. So like 2 weeks ago, you had probably 5 undefeated teams against the spread. Then you cut it in half, so you only have 3 or 2 or whatever. And now you only have, I think, 1 left in Indiana. Unless Army has Army covered every game? I don't know. But that's
Great Toot is our stats guy in the chat. Can we get anybody else? Great Toot. Anybody else covered 8-0 ATS, 7-0 ATS?
Ultimately, it's Jonathan Smith versus Signetti in this game. Love both coaches, obviously, but Smith
Great
is a home
coaches,
dog at
both of them.
7.5. Like, how are you gonna avoid that, especially if no Rourke? But like line's gonna go down without Rourke. Like Washington line was 7 last week. Rourke confirmed out, goes all the way down to like 5. I don't know, and I'd argue that Washington probably easily could have covered that game. I mean, you had a 60-yard pick six that swung the game. So
Washington is what I call the empty calorie king. They love moving the ball down the field and scoring 0 points.
they can't get field
Whether
goals.
it's
Yeah.
the turnover game, the kicking game, or just like stalling out and getting stuffed on 4th and 1 to 3.
Right.
I feel like every week these guys are winning the yardage battle, the time of possession battle, and they don't even cover most of the time. Another team that hasn't figured out how to go east and win. They got an interesting one this week. We'll get there in a minute. But yeah, I'm all in on the Hoosiers. Just keep rolling.
What you do have is you have Aiden Childs as the quarterback for Michigan State, and he has 22 turnover-worthy plays, which is the most in college football by like I think like 7, and it's like actually insane.
Great call out. When Michigan State has won and surprised people, I'm thinking specifically of the Iowa game, which I watched most of. It's been the vertical passing game.
Right.
And where he's getting chunk plays to his guy Marsh, and they abused Iowa's secondary. Their number 1 corner was not up for that game. IU's secondary is very good. That's the thing that people aren't really talking about this Indiana team. Their defense is
Solid.
across the board solid. Front 4 is very good. Linebacking core is very good. Secondary is very good. They play a lot of nickel. So, like, they're not going to be caught off guard by Childs. The other thing that Childs does well is he's a physical runner. But again, I like the linebacking core from Indiana. These guys are ball hawks. They're nasty. I just think it's a very complete football game, with or without Rourke. I'm laying the points. Signetti, baby. Football school.
Fighting Signettis, man. Oh my god.
The Fighting Signettis is right. All right, let's head west to corn territory. We got 2 corn matchups and the next 2 on the docket. We're getting corned up. UCLA, coming off a bye, I believe?
Yep.
Heading to Lincoln. This is a cool game. This is like a good uni clash, like 2 fun, historic programs that I feel like have played in a lot of bowl games. Now they're playing as conference foes. Nebraska only laying 6.5. Saturday afternoon game. I believe Raiola's going to play. I know he got banged up in the Ohio State game, but I believe he's going to play. The number is sitting at, let me look that up really quickly in terms of total.
Market. Oh, I don't know about total.
Nebraska's minus 6.5. Total sitting at 39.5, which is crazy low. Anything that you're kind of circling in this one yet?
I think UCLA is the side. Obviously.
Ooh, man, we're going to battle. I may look real stupid on Monday.
No? Okay. Well.
Dude, come on, speak your truth.
UCLA's
That's why we're on the program.
I mean, even if Raiola goes, I mean, I just assumed he was going. I didn't even really know he was questionable. I know he got banged up a little bit, but I think he's going. But
I was just talking to Husker people earlier today.
Gotcha. You have Nebraska coming off I won't say like a bad loss because like they were huge dogs, but like heartbreaking loss. Like you almost just knocked off
emotionally draining.
Right. Like you almost just knocked off one of the best teams in the country on the road, and you probably should have won that game. And you just couldn't get it done. And now you get a UCLA team who, once again, they've been playing their best football. They are sneaky cover machines, covering the last 4 or 5. That's if you're counting Minnesota is not covering, but like the line was 4.5 all week in that game. They lost by 4. Close 3.5. So like technically they've covered the last 5. Very sneaky team who I was so like hateful towards after like the first 2 weeks. I thought they were like the worst team in the Power 4, but like definitely much improved. Coming off a bye, like I love these road dogs off a bye. It's typically a really good bet. Road dog low total. If you can get a 7, I think that's the right side. But let's see what you got to say.
Oh, Anders, man, you're spitting facts because you know what? I'm in your boat, and I just haven't mentally recalibrated. Where you saw them like look so bad in the first few weeks of the season, really at Hawaii, and getting throttled at home by football school, Indiana.
Which has only aged well.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
I mean, at LSU, 34-17 doesn't look so bad. Mm-hmm. At Penn State, losing by a couple possessions doesn't look so bad. Go on the road, one of the few West Coast teams to make the trip out east and come away with a W at Rutgers. So you're probably right, fundamentally, but they wear those soft powder blue uniforms. I can't in good conscience bet them. I actually don't trust a team like UCLA coming out of bye with a very inexperienced coaching staff. I think it's one of those, like, I love betting long tenured, experienced, proven coaches coming off a bye. But I think, again, in college, it can cut the other way, where you get guys who are playing good football, who are improving every week. All of a sudden, it's a bye week. Some people mentally check out a little bit, or they take off the pads, or whatever it may be. Their head coach seems a little like lax, generally, players coach vibes. Those folks tend to go gas off the pedal in the bye week, which I think is a bad sign for coming off the bye. I think Nebraska's a pretty darn good football team. I know they got boat race in Bloomington, but again, it's a football school, so leave them alone. They're coming home. I think the stadium's going to be very up and very appreciative for the strong effort in Columbus. So I'm laying the points. This is one of the bets I actually like the most this week.
Really?
I think Nebraska's just a much better football team than UCLA, much more talented. But again, I'm probably a little brain dead from what I saw in week 1 and 2 because they looked so bad. So we'll see. There have been some quarterback drama. It's their first time in Lincoln in God knows how long. This should be a fun game. This is a fun slate overall. Honestly, only one double-digit spread and a lot of interesting matchups. Okay, if Alex was here, I'd go to him first because he's the Iowa fan boy of the Dub Club team. The battle for that pig or cow or something, I think they call it the Heartland Trophy. Wisconsin at Iowa. They always play good games. Iowa laying 3. Total sitting at 40.5, which is pretty high for these two programs, or programs, as some people say. Iowa looked really, really good last week. Wisconsin had a strong first half and just ran out of juice at home. How are you capping this one? You touching anything in particular?
I'm not. It's probably my least favorite game to go through. I don't know. It's an interesting spot because I think Iowa's officially benching Cade McNamara.
Yeah.
I
think he's injured, but he's not even on the depth chart.
Right. That's an upgrade. Their backup's an upgrade from Cade McNamara. Funny enough, what a world we live in. But so like that should help them. And then I think Wisconsin's offense is going to struggle versus Iowa team. So to answer your question, I like Iowa, but I don't love it. I lean him. I hate laying points with this Iowa team. But I mean, I just think Braden Locke's going to be seeing ghosts versus defense. That's pretty much a handicap there. Don't feel great about it, but that's the route I would take.
I pick 5 games on this program every week, no matter what. You can set your watch to it. This is the one where I was like, I really don't want to play this, but I got to get to number 5. I'm laying them with Iowa. The number one reason I'm getting there, honestly, because I think people forget this every year, Kinnick at night is a hard place to play. Like, one of the loudest stadiums. It's a very vertical stand, so people are on top of you, and it's just like super imposing and intimidating place to play a football game. Braden Locke hasn't played one of those. I mean, I know he played at SC at like 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and you know that's not the same kind of environment, even though it's a cool stadium. Right. At Rutgers, who cares? At Northwestern, basically a home game. So I think he's going to, be a little clenched tushy for most of this game. And I think Iowa's solid, man. I think you're absolutely right that there's an upgrade at the quarterback position. I think they're going to win the game. So, maybe if I was like not picking everything ATS, I'd just like lay the juice and take a money line.
Parlay with Minnesota.
Yeah, there you go. The freaking what's their trophy, like the chipmunk trophy or something?
I have no idea.
Pig chipmunk parlay. But yeah, I'm laying the 3. I'll take the Hawkeyes. I don't feel awesome about it, but I got to get to 5 for the program, for the fans, and I think it'll be a fun game. This is a meaningful rivalry game. Mm-hmm. It's one of the more underrated rivalry games in the Big Ten and all the trophies. I think the Heartland Trophy is staying in Iowa City for one more year. All right, the final nightcap. I believe this is the BTN 6:30 game. Old school Pac-12 matchup. Pac-12, stand up. How are you? Speaking of places that are hard to play in, Husky Stadium in Seattle is loud as hell. USC's played Washington a million times in that building. And Washington is getting points as a home dog. Washington, not a very strong showing in Indiana on the road last week. Back home for some home cooking, old school Pac-12 matchup. The Trojans finally won a game after, dropping a few in a row in heartbreaking fashion. They had to do it against Rutgers, so, if that tells you anything. You touching this one, you laying the point.
Uh-oh.
Here, 55.5. That's a big number for a Big Ten game. Any lean or official play for the fans at home?
Your mic switched to your AirPods, I think.
Uh-oh. It's because I unplugged. Somehow. How's my mic now? Still bad?
Still AirPods, I think.
Oh, boy. It was going too well.
Right.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me at all?
Yeah, no, I can hear you.
All right, let's just battle through it.
You'll make it through it. All right.
The Shure mic is dead, I'm afraid. Sorry, listeners.
I like Washington in this game. Haven't bet it yet. Probably
Nice.
will. Even if there's like a 3 minus 115 out there this morning, I think. I don't know if it's still there. If you can get that, but I think they win the game. UCLA, I hate betting on Washington though. Oh my gosh, I can't. They have the worst special teams in the country. I hate teams.
Yeah,
that
what's up
can't
with the
kick field
kicker? He's
goals.
a captain and he's terrible.
Unreal. He was bad last year too.
He just looks like he's gonna miss a kick every time.
He looks like he goes up there and he's like, I'm not making this shit.
You got to take the C off his chest because that guy is not inspired.
Right.
CONFIDENCE. That's confidence, people.
But USC, they've struggled on the road. Granted, most of those games have been on the East Coast. It's kind of a different feel with how these Big Ten teams have been this year, if you even want to call USC a Big Ten team. But you have to run the ball to beat Washington. They have one of the best pass defenses in the country. Without the passing ability from Miller Moss being their prime source of offense, I think that gives Washington a big edge here. I just think they'll be able to handle the ground game more. Obviously, should be able to contain them in the pass a decent amount. And yeah, USC, these teams home road splits in college football are in any college sport, college basketball, big deal. But college basketball, college football, home road splits, the teams that suck on the road, they suck on the road. The teams that are good at home, they typically compete at home. But USC, we haven't really. Do they have any good data points on the road this year? I don't know if they do.
The neutral site game against LSU is probably their shining.
Right. But that was almost a home game because it was it was kind of local.
Right?
Yeah. Good. That was early too. New defensive coordinator for USC.
Train. They're going to the playoffs.
I was hyping USC up. I got them plus 320 to make the playoffs. Got all the way down to plus 140, and then they just lost every game. But
if they don't win this one, they're gonna have a hard time making a bowl game.
Yeah,
because they got at Washington. That's kind of a toss-up. They're a 2.5 point fave.
Mm-hmm.
Then you go versus Nebraska. That's going to be a dogfight. Honestly, I believe that. UCLA they should be able to handle, and then it's Notre Dame. So you got to find 2 out of those 4 dubs, and Washington's in the same boat. They're sitting there at 4 wins. SC, then they're at Penn State. They're definitely going to be dogs in that one. First UCLA probably will be a modest favorite, and then they're at Autzen for the regular season finale. So this is you got a reigning national championship appearance in Washington, and you got a program that fancies themselves as a top 8 program, and both of them are. This is kind of a win or you're sitting home in December kind of game here on November 2. So this is going to be an interesting one. I think they're both going to be playing hard.
Yeah.
Lincoln Riley, who I always want to call Cliff Kingsbury, is closing practice to the media. That tells me he's dialed in, and it's going to be an interesting game. I'm staying away as a result. Washington is, to your point, Anders, you nailed it. Different team on the road and at home. USC, I love this team. Like, I want them to win, but they find ways to lose games. They're so talented. They do have a great tailback. They just refuse to hand the ball to him. They got some good pieces on defense, so I'm having a hard time getting my arms around a side here. If anything, I mean, maybe I'd touch the under, knowing that like it's gonna be loud in Seattle and it's a really tough place to play. I don't know what the weather's gonna be like.
I
It's
lean
52
under.
and cloudy. That's fine. But yeah, I'm staying away from this one as a Pac-12 alum. I hope both teams have fun. All right, we're going to battle this weekend, Anders. One of us is going to be feeling really good on Sunday morning. The other one's going to be, not so much. Anything else from the chat they want to hear? GoTo's been carrying the chat all day long. Anybody else want to talk MLB, NFL, Thursday night football? Got a weird number tomorrow night.
I'll talk anything.
In
you
the
have a
TNF
little
game.
echo, by the way. I don't know if you're
God,
going
it's
to be
this
able to fix
freaking
it.
audio. We're going to have to probably, you're going to have to chat, and then we're going to have to abort the stream at some point. I think I know what's the problem, actually.
Oh, is he gone? You here?
Yeah, I'm here, unfortunately.
There's no
put my
echo.
microphone.
That helps.
The mic is working again.
Yeah,
but-
you're good.
Who do you like in the World Series tonight? I'll ask the question if the chat wants.
Didn't bet it. Lee, I think the numbers gotten a little too high. I saw like a Dodgers like plus 130. It's hard not to take. Even though I don't know. I bet the over between these two pitchers last game. I wouldn't like the over as much in this game just because you have an off day tomorrow. Like teams should be unleashing both bullpen arms no matter what. Like Dodgers don't want to go back home, and then Yankees obviously will use every arm they can. So I don't know. I had no read on it. I actually had today was like my one day like in a while. I have no plays on my card because I didn't like anything. But
That's what we call discipline. That's why you pay him the big bucks. Bankroll management. It's a 365-day-a-year job. All right, this was a blast, Anders. Thank you very much for the excellent reads and analysis. Always a fun chopping it up, and for making your debut in the Twitter live sphere.
Hell yeah.
I know this was a blast for the listeners in the chat. So, subscribe to this guy. 7 days free in the comments. I didn't plug you once. That's what I'm best at. 7 days free in the comments. Subscribe now. You can get a full week. All his college football plays, NFL, MLB, dipping his toes a little bit in NBA, so you can trust him. It is the sports equinox, for Pete's sake. If not now, then when? 7 days free. Anders, check him out in the comments.
Yep.
All right, my friend. Great job. Go Bucks.
Hell yeah. Have a good one.
Adios.